Hello everyone, and welcome to CIS Mini Lessons. Today we're going to be talking about HTML and adding images with the image element. Now first and foremost, I'd like you to think about one thing, which is the old adage of a picture is worth 1,000 words. And why do people say that? Well, it's because an image has the ability of relaying a complex thought without actually speaking a single word. Whereas if we were to take something like this, broken web detriment to all. This could conceivably be a headline in a newspaper somewhere, or the headline to a magazine article somewhere that has an article that's beneath it and a bunch of text that we may or may not want to go through. We don't know what the article is necessarily about. But if we add an image, we could be able to kind of clarify what the general subject matter of the of an article might be about, and essentially be able to draw more attention or more viewership to to your site. So how do we do this? Well, we want to use an image element. The image element has an opening tag but no closing tag, and this is because it is an inline element. It does not actually hold any true content per se, as the image itself is just being brought in and not necessarily considered content in the same sense as the H2 above or the divs below. So with source, what we can do, or I should say, for these two attributes that we're looking at, source and alt, these two attributes are required. Source is the source or the location of your image, and alt is going to be your alternative text, or a text that can be put onto the screen in place of the image should your source location end up broken at some point. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can add a source. We can either hot link it directly from a external website or even internal internal page of our own, or we can use a local location. And I have an image stored locally here. Now I'm going to add some alternative text, and as we can see, we do need to kind of scroll over, so we'll fix that in a moment. But we can also see that it is a spider's web, so I'm going to just put spider's web here as alternative text. And to prove my point, so should our source ever end up breaking, we can see here on this first line of text beneath our header here that we have our alt text or alternative text that's showing up on the page. Now if I go ahead and I fix the image link, and I go ahead next and I could say width, and I could also add a height. And these are also a couple of common attributes that are seen with image. And with width, we can set a width to whatever we want. Note that the default units for width are pixels, but because they are default, we don't need to necessarily define them. So right now I could just say width at 400, and because width and height are not required, you don't necessarily have to put both. You could use one or the other should you desire to. So I'm actually going to leave off height for now. Now, as part of best practices, it would be best to use direct CSS, so something more like this, where direct CSS, so something like width, and instead maybe I'll use 100, and I want to just get rid of this right here. So if we wanted to at least acknowledge height, we could always say something like auto. So nonetheless, this is how you add an image element directly to your HTML. And thank you all for dropping by. Appreciate your time, and look forward to you dropping by again for the next mini lesson that comes along.